dear students, this is Dr. 𝐒𝐭𝐢𝐦𝐮. Today I am here with another video on the anterior pituitary hormones. अभी तक हमने बात की है about the first hormone of anterior pituitary, that is the growth hormone. Now we will talk about the second hormone, which is the thyroid stimulating hormone from anterior pituitary. So the first point, that is the introduction of this hormone. The thyroid stimulating hormone it's also called as the TSH. It is also called as thyrotropin. Okay? And it is also called as thyrotrophic hormone, right? So this thyroid stimulating hormone, TSH or thyrotropin, it is released from the anterior lobe of pituitary by the thyrotrop cells of the anterior pituitary, which I already told you that they are the basophilic cells of the anterior pituitary, included under the heading of chromophilic cells, right? So this thyroid stimulating hormone or thyrotropin, its main function is that it acts on the thyroid gland, and it causes the growth of thyroid gland, and it enhances the secretory activity of thyroid gland. So there are two major functions of thyroid stimulating hormone. The first function is that it causes the growth of thyroid gland. It causes the growth of thyroid gland, and it is essential for the secretory activity of the thyroid gland. So these are the two functions of the thyroid stimulating hormone. So the overall effect of thyroid stimulating hormone is the growth of the thyroid gland and the secretions from the thyroid gland. And you must be knowing that the thyroid gland, it secretes two hormones, that is T3 and T4, which are known as the thyroid hormones, right? So it is essential for the secretion of T3, T4, the thyroid hormones. I will tell you later in the thyroid gland what this T3 and T4 means. For the timing, you will remember the T3 and T4, triiodothyronine and tetraiodothyronine, and this is known as the thyroxine, right? So this thyroid stimulating hormone, we will first talk about the chemistry of this hormone. So this hormone, you must remember that it is a glycoprotein. The thyroid stimulating hormone is a glycoprotein hormone. I have already told you in the introduction about the hormones, about the classification of hormones, that there are some hormones which are glycoprotein. And this hormone is also a glycoprotein, and it exists as a heterodimer. That means this hormone, it has two chains. So this hormone, it has two chains. The first chain is known as the alpha chain, and the second chain is known as the beta chain. So this hormone, this thyroid stimulating hormone or thyrotropin, it has two chains. One is the alpha chain and the other is the beta chain, joined together by a non-covalent bonding, right? So this alpha chain, it has 92 amino acids, and this beta chain, it has 118 amino acids. The important thing to remember here is that this alpha chain, it is coded by a gene which is present on the chromosome number 6 in case of human beings, and this beta chain, it is coded by a gene which is present on chromosome number 1 in case of human beings. But the most important thing which you have to remember here is that this alpha chain is identical in 4 hormones. You must remember this point. This alpha chain, right? This alpha chain, it is similar in 4 different hormones. First hormone is human chorionic gonadotropin. The second hormone is follicle stimulating hormone. The third hormone is luteinizing hormone. And the fourth one is thyroid stimulating hormone. So these all hormones, they are all glycoprotein hormones. You will remember here on these 4 hormones, they are the glycoprotein hormones whose alpha chains are similar, right? They resemble with one another in terms of alpha chain. But here, the thyroid stimulating hormones beta chain, it gives it the specificity. That means this beta chain is responsible for the specificity of thyroid stimulating hormone for its receptor, right? So a receptor identifies the thyroid stimulating hormone on the basis of this beta chain, you must remember here. This is all about the chemistry of thyroid stimulating hormone. I hope you have remembered these things, that the hormone is a glycoprotein having two chains. Now we will go ahead with the regulation of this hormone, right? So I have drawn this flow diagram to show you the regulation of the thyroid hormone. I have already told you in the hypothalamus and on the lecture on pituitary gland that the hormones of the anterior lobe of pituitary, they are under the direct control of the hormones from hypothalamus. So this hypothalamus, the nuclei of the hypothalamus, I have already told you, they secrete certain hormones on the median eminence where they are carried by the hypothalamo-hypophyseal portal system. So the hypothalamus, it releases a hormone which is known as thyroid stimulating hormone, releasing hormone, or I can also call it thyrotropin releasing hormone. So this hormone, it is released in the hypothalamo-hypophyseal portal system and it goes to the anterior pituitary and it goes to the thyrotropic cells in the anterior lobe of pituitary and it stimulates those cells to release the thyroid stimulating hormone or thyrotropin. And this thyroid stimulating hormone, it goes to the thyroid gland and the thyroid gland, it is stimulated to release its hormones, the T3 and T4. So this is the hypothalamic regulation of the thyroid stimulating hormone. So the thyroid stimulating hormone levels are regulated by the thyroid stimulating hormone releasing hormone from the hypothalamus. You already know this. An important factor is that you have already learned about the somatostatin. The somatostatin is a hormone that is released by the nuclei of hypothalamus that goes to the anterior pituitary and that inhibits the cells of pituitary from releasing the growth hormone. But it has been known that, it has been found that the somatostatin, it also has an effect of inhibiting the release of thyroid stimulating hormone. So this somatostatin, it goes to the anterior pituitary and it inhibits the cells of anterior pituitary, the thyrotropic cells, to release thyroid stimulating hormone. So it has a negative effect on the release of thyroid stimulating hormone. There is one more regulation of this thyroid stimulating hormone, that is the negative feedback mechanism. I will make a video on the feedback later on, but first I will make you understand, I will give you a brief idea about the negative feedback. The levels of T3 and T4, that is the thyroid gland hormone, the hormones from the thyroid gland, they have a negative feedback on TSH. That means the more levels of thyroid T3 and T4 hormones, it goes to the hypothalamus and it also goes to the anterior pituitary, and the high levels, they decrease the levels of TSH. Here they also decrease the levels of this TSH-RH. That means higher the levels of T3, T4, lower the levels of TSH, and lower the levels of T3, T4, higher the levels of TSH. So they have a negative feedback on the TSH. So overall the TSH secretions, they are regulated by thyroid stimulating hormone releasing hormone from hypothalamus, and also there has been some effect by the somatostatin from hypothalamus and the T3, T4 hormones from the thyroid gland. You must remember this. As you already know that this thyroid stimulating hormone, it is a glandular hormone because it is produced by the glandular cells of the pituitary. I already told you in the previous lecture, and it is also a trophic hormone. What is a trophic hormone? That goes from thyroid gland and it regulates the secretions of thyroid glands, so it is also a trophic hormone. So this was all about the regulation of the thyroid stimulating hormone. And now I will tell you something about the cell which secretes the thyroid stimulating hormone. The cells which are present in the anterior pituitary, I have told you there are some cells which are known as chromophil cells. The chromophil cells are classified into three types: the thyrotropes, the gonadotropes, and the corticotropes. The chromophil cells are acidic and basic, acidophils and basophils, and there are three types of basophilic cells. One of them is thyrotropes, and these are the cells which actually secrete the thyroid stimulating hormone. So this TSH or the thyrotropin, it is secreted by the thyrotropes of anterior lobe of pituitary, which themselves are the basophilic cells, which themselves are the chromophil cells in the anterior lobe of pituitary. You already know this. So these thyrotropes, when they are stimulated by the peptide hormones, I have already told you that this releasing hormone, they are usually peptide. This TSHR, thyroid stimulating hormone, releasing hormone, it is a peptide hormone. It goes to the thyrotropic cells. It stimulates the thyrotropic cells to release the thyroid stimulating hormone, and it goes into the circulation. And you must know that the T-half of thyroid stimulating hormone, the biological T-half of thyroid stimulating hormone, is around 1 hour, that is 60 minutes. You must remember this. Like last time I told you the T-half of growth hormone, it is around 20 minutes, but I told you that its effects are very long lasting because of the production of insulin like growth factors, जिनका T half बहुत ज़्यादा है, that's around 20 hours. ठीक है? Likewise in thyroid stimulating hormone, the T half is around 1 hour or 60 minutes only. So this thyroid stimulating hormone releases from the thyrotropic cells, it goes to its target cells, and the target cells for thyroid stimulating hormone, they are located in the thyroid gland. They are located in the thyroid gland and they are present in the thyroid follicles. So the cells which are the targets of thyrotropin or thyroid stimulating hormone, they are located in the thyroid gland and they are the follicular cells. You must remember. They are the follicular cells which are present in the thyroid follicles. I hope आपको समझ आया होगा. So once this thyroid stimulating hormone, it is released into the blood and it goes to its target cell. Say this is a target cell and this is the follicular cell in the thyroid gland. This thyroid stimulating hormone, because it's a glycoprotein, you must be knowing that the receptors of glycoproteins, they are present on the cell surface. The receptor for thyroid hormone is present on the cell surface of these follicular cells, and this hormone, it binds to its receptor and it acts through a second messenger. I have already told you in previous lectures that some hormones, they act through second messengers. So thyroid stimulating hormone is one of the hormones which acts through the second messenger, and here the second messenger is cyclic AMP, cyclic adenosine monophosphate. So you must remember that the hormone, thyroid stimulating hormone, its receptor is on the cell membrane of follicular cells which are present in the thyroid gland, and it acts through a second messenger. The second messenger in case of thyroid stimulating hormone is the cyclic adenosine monophosphate. Right? Now we will deal with the functions of the thyroid stimulating hormone. Deal with the function of the thyroid stimulating hormone. How does the thyroid stimulating hormone act and what are its functions in the thyroid gland? As I told you that the thyroid stimulating hormone, its prime target is the thyroid gland and its prime target is the follicular cells in the thyroid gland. So thyroid gland, it has many follicles in it where the thyroid gland produces its hormones like the thyroxine. So let's say that this is a follicular cell. The first effect of the thyroid stimulating hormone is that the thyroid stimulating hormone, number one, it increases the number of follicular cells. When it increases the number of follicular cells, that indirectly means that there is a growth of thyroid gland and there is more secretion of the thyroid hormones. Number two, it increases the size of the thyroid cells like the follicular cells. When it increases the size of the follicular cells, that means there is growth of the thyroid gland. And number three, it increases the secretory activity of the thyroid follicular cells. When it increases the secretory activity of thyroid follicular cells, that means more thyroxine is produced. More T3 and T4 are produced by the follicular cells of the thyroid gland. Right? So this thyroid stimulating hormone, it has effect on each and every stage of the thyroxine production. We will deal with the thyroxine production, the production of T3 and T4 by the thyroid gland in the topic on thyroid gland itself. But here I will give you some brief idea about the role of thyroid stimulating hormone on the production of thyroxine. You must remember that iodine that is present in the blood, it is taken into the cells, the follicular cells, because this iodine, it is utilized for the formation of thyroid hormones like T3 and T4. So the iodine is taken inside the cell by a symport. You know what is the symport? A symport, is a transport mechanism. It's a molecule which helps in the passage of two molecules in the same direction. So the symport here is the sodium iodine symport. The sodium iodine symport, the thyroid stimulating hormone, it acts on the sodium iodine symport and it causes the increased uptake of iodine by the follicular cells, right? So this sodium iodine symporter, it is influenced by the thyroid stimulating hormone. So this iodine, its concentrations are increased in the follicular cell. So the iodine is finally trapped in the follicular cells for its utilization for the formation of thyroid glands, and this process is known as iodine trapping. So this thyroid stimulating hormone has a role in iodine trapping. So what is the role of thyroid stimulating hormone? Thyroid stimulating hormone goes to the follicular cells of the thyroid gland and it helps in the sodium iodine symporter. It helps in the passage of iodine inside the cell along with sodium. So it increases the concentration of iodine in the form of iodide actually. The iodine present in the blood, it's in the form of iodide. And this iodide, it is trapped in the follicular cells. The process is known as iodide trapping, right? This thyroid stimulating hormone, you must be knowing that the thyroid hormones, they are formed from a precursor molecule which is known as thyroglobulin. So the thyroglobulins, they are formed in the follicular cells and they are taken in the lumen of the thyroid follicles. The thyroid follicles, they have a lumen. Say this thyroglobulin, it is taken in the lumen of the thyroid follicle. I will tell you in detail in the thyroid gland. यहाँ पे आप थोड़ा सा आइडिया रखेंगे इन चीजों का, ठीक है? वहां भी यही पढ़ना है, वहां हम डिटेल में पढ़ेंगे. So this thyroglobulin, it is a molecule that is formed in the follicular cells and it is taken in the lumen. This thyroglobulin molecule is actually iodinated. There is iodination of this molecule, the thyroglobulin, for the formation of the thyroid hormones. The process of iodination, it is also influenced by the thyroid stimulating hormone. So thyroid stimulating hormone is responsible for the iodination. And not only this iodination, later on the iodinated thyroglobulin, it has tyrosine residues on it. The tyrosine residues along with the iodine, they are joined. The process known as conjugation. So the conjugation of the tyrosine residues having iodine with them, the conjugation process is also stimulated by the thyroid stimulating hormone. And finally, these thyroglobulins along with these iodine residues, they are taken into the cell where they are broken down. इनको तोड़ा जाता है to release T3 and T4. So this breakdown of thyroglobulin molecules into T3, T4, which is known as proteolysis, it is also stimulated by the thyroid stimulating hormone. And finally the form T3 and T4, they are released into the blood circulation, ठीक है? And this step is also stimulated by the thyroid stimulating hormone. So overall the thyroid stimulating hormone, it has two effects on the thyroid gland. Number one is growth. How does it help in the growth? Because it increases the number of follicular cells, it increases the size of the follicular cells, it increases the secretory activity of follicular cells, it also converts the cuboidal cells into columnar cells, and it has a stimulating effect at various stages of the thyroid hormone formation. First, it helps in the iodide trapping through sodium iodine symporter. Then it helps in the iodination of the thyroglobulin. It helps in the conjugation of the tyrosine residues on the thyroglobulin. It then helps in the proteolysis of the thyroglobulin in the follicular cells. It then helps in the formation of T3 and T4. It then helps in the release of T3 and T4 in the blood circulation. So these are the various effects of the thyroid stimulating hormone on the follicular cells, in the follicular cells of the thyroid gland. So this is all about the functions of the thyroid stimulating hormone. Now I will tell you something about the application of thyroid stimulation hormone. The thyroid stimulating hormone is very helpful to us in the diagnosis of various diseases. You can diagnose various pathologies within our body by assaying the thyroid stimulating hormone. What you do, you take a sample of blood and you measure the levels of thyroid stimulating hormone. You must be knowing that the thyroid stimulating hormone, it is also released in pulses. Its release is also pulsatile. The thyroid stimulating hormone, along the thyroid hormones like T4, thyroxine, when we measure the levels of thyroid stimulating hormone and the thyroxine, we can come to a conclusion about some underlying disease. You must be known to the thyroid function test. You must be knowing about this thyroid function test. We usually do these thyroid function tests. So we measure the levels of TSH and thyroxine in the blood, and we come to some conclusion. For example, usually if you have a high level of thyroid hormones and you have a low level of TSH, right? This may indicate a primary hyperthyroidism. For example, in case of Graves' disease, you have a primary hyperthyroidism. So this is one of the applications of the thyroid stimulating hormone. Thyroid stimulating hormone can be used for the diagnosis of various pathological conditions like the Graves' disease, etc. It can be helpful for the diagnosis of hyperthyroidism, hypothyroidism, by measuring its concentrations. If its concentrations are low and the concentration of thyroid hormones are high, we can say that it may be a primary hyperthyroidism like the Graves' disease. And there are many other examples when its levels are high and the levels of when its levels are low, or when the levels of T4 are low and its levels are high, we can say it is hypothyroidism, etc. There is one more point which I want to tell you, that is an additional information about the gestational hyperthyroidism. You must have come across this word, gestational hyperthyroidism. During pregnancy, what happens, some of the women, they experience hyperthyroidism. That means increase in the level of thyroid hormones, during their pregnancy. Can you tell me why? Can anybody tell me why is there an increase in the thyroid hormones during pregnancy? Let me tell you. During pregnancy, what happens? The human placenta, it releases the human chorionic gonadotropin. I already told you that human chorionic gonadotropin, it's alpha chain, it resembles the alpha chain of thyroid stimulating hormone. And sometimes what happens, this human chorionic gonadotropin, it is recognized by the TSH receptor. So TSH receptor को लगता है that it is a thyroid stimulating hormone. Sometimes it recognizes the HCG as TSH. So high levels of HCG, they stimulate the thyroid stimulating hormone receptor, which in turn does these effects and increases the level of thyroid hormones in the. So you can watch all the lectures on the endocrine system. Till now I have given 8 lectures, I think. This is the 9th lecture. So you can watch all these lectures on my YouTube channel, Genesis Academy by Dr. Sajjad, and I have a Facebook page with the name Genesis Academy, right? So if you have any queries, kindly mail me, kindly comment, and kindly subscribe my channel Genesis Academy by Dr. Sajjad on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching this video.